Open EasySoft Pro 6, double click. Ours is the Easy 512 ACR. Drag it using a left mouse click to the right hand side. OK. Open the PLC. And so now we're in circuit diagram. So if we go to circuit diagram, this is where we now draw using the switches on the left hand side here. We have switches, and we must also have this tab here, ANSI. This is the switch that must be pressed to get the correct symbols in the ladder diagram. But before we do that, we must first go to communication and go connection and go online. So if we click online, we're connected to COM4 Easy, and that's where our PLC is plugged in via USB. And so you're going to click online. Let's do on the PLC. So now we are in circuit diagram, and this is where the PLC work is done to draw your circuit. But before that, we're going to need to click on communication, and this will connect to the USB cable, through the USB cable to the actual unit. And here we will need to click PC to device. So this is under the tab program configuration, PC to device. The device is in run mode, so we're going to click, can the device be stopped? We're going to say yes. So at this moment, it's blanking out a blank project in the PLC unit. Right, that is complete. It says, do you want to restart it? Yes. So we're restarting the PLC, and now inside the PLC unit via the USB cable, this is now blank. So to start again, we'd have to click circuit diagram. This will bring you to 001. This will be the first line in the ladder diagram. So here on the left, we're going to click and hold input basic unit, drag and drop. But note as well, we're on the ANSI CSA mode here on top to get the correct switches. Notice the switch automatically becomes 01. Now Q is our outputs. Drag and drop it there, and it automatically was the line. Now this output symbol is exactly this one here. Now we're going to need to draw a latching circuit. So we're going to go input symbol again. This is a normally open switch, and we're going to put in another switch over here. So we can erase here maybe and put another switch. Right, there's a switch there, and now by dragging and dropping it, we're going to look for the pin. There's the pin. There says draw connections, so click the pin now comes, and now we're going to draw by left clicking the connection. And so you can see this is not really a latching circuit, so you can click erase over here, delete, and you can clear that up. Click erase again, switch to the pin, and you can draw, and now you have a latching diagram. Now you can number these switches. So that switch is numbered number 1. This switch is also number 1, so that's going to be confusion. We'll have to rename that switch, because this one will start it. This switch called number 1 will start it. This switch will have to be the stop button. This will be our switch that's in the contactor. So obviously this one here is called Q01. That means we need to name this switch also Q01. So let's go and rename it. So all I'm going to do is go there, copy the name, right click paste, and so now I have the same name for that output. So when the output closes and the contactor goes in, it will automatically latch our switch, and our circuit will remain on. Now this cannot remain as a normally open switch, so we're going to change it to break. We're also going to change the name here, because it will have to be maybe switch number 2, and this one we can leave it as number 1 if we want to, and this number 1. So when we press the start button, the currents will run through, switching on that contact, and the circuit will latch on. So now we're going to go to simulation, and we're going to click the play button, and notice it shows us our stop button. And now we're going to go to I inputs, and there's all our switches. So notice switch 1 is on the extreme left, and on the right hand side we have switch 1. So when we press switch 1, can you see as soon as I let it go, it latched on. Watch when I hold down the click button, the left click. Can you see? Hold down. I'm holding down the left click, holding down the left click. So when I click 1, that turns red, showing that I'm pressing that button. Now for me to press this button off, I will have to press number 2. So if I go to number 2 on the extreme left hand side and press number 2, there my circuit switched off. So this is under the simulations tab on the bottom left hand corner of the screen. Right, now to make the PLC actually work, we're going to have to save this into the PLC unit, and to do this we're going to have to go to circuit diagram once again, and communication, and we're going to look for PC to device. That means we want to write it from the PC to the device. Click it there, and here it says easy soft writing project contents to the device. So the device looks like this, and it's writing it to this device via a USB cable from the computer's output port. Right, now we're going to click run, and now we're in run mode. So now we can physically go back to circuit diagram, and there's it there. Now we're going to go to the PLC unit, and we're going to press number 1. Alright, this is the PLC unit. Notice with the PLC unit we have power with the blue cable going from the top position, which is 220 volts, all the way to the bottom position, which is 220 volts. So on top we have the input ports, on the bottom we have the output ports. So if we press switch 1, which will be connected to 1 on the input, this will trigger a response on the output. Let's see. So taking a live switch and touching it there, do you notice that the LEDs come on? Can you see? The circuit is now in a latch state. Notice that at the bottom output, the red number 1 is staying on. The red light number 1 is on. If I go to number 2, do you notice it switched it off? So I'm using this wire as a switch, which is coming from this position over here, which is live. So this is the other end of the wire. So this is the one end of the wire, and this is the other end of the same wire. So if I go to number 1, I'm now pressing the button. I let go of the button. Notice it's latched on. It's giving me an output to number 1. To switch it off, number 2, notice it went off. So noticing when we went with our wire from switch number 1, the circuit latched on, and we're just going to click simulation just to show you what's going to go on. So when we pressed number 1, notice our circuit latched on when we did it with the wire physically, and notice that output 1 came on when we press the switch. So when we press the switch physically, notice that output 1 came on. We're now going to change that and rename that output to output number 2. Okay, so this is how we rename it. We're going to go back to circuit diagram. We're going to go to output 2, and right here at the bottom you notice there's Q. Not right at the bottom, but in the middle of the screen there's Q, and we're going to switch this to 2. Notice it's now output 2, and here we're also going to switch it to output 2. So when it latches on, it's going to send a number 2 light on, not like the first time. When we press number 1 light came on. When we press number 1 came on. This time when we press number 1, number 2 is going to go on. Watch. So here's simulation. We first gonna have to write this and then we'll simulate it. So let's go to communication and PC to device. We're gonna say write it. So writing project contents to the device. It's gonna ask probably to restart. Right, we're almost there. It says restart. We're restarting it. We're gonna go to simulation just to see what it's gonna look like. So when we press number 1, the button on the left here, we're gonna first press play. Button on the left, it latched on. Notice that when I press the button, it goes red. When I press number 2, it's gonna switch off. Right, we're now gonna do it physically on the PLC unit. Notice that when we go to the PLC unit, we're gonna be pressing number 1, but number 2 is going to come on. Right, we're back at the PLC unit. We're now going to switch on number 1 and notice that number 2 is going to come on. Notice number 2 came on and it latched. To switch it off, I'm still going to use number 2. Okay, let's do it one more time. When we go to number 1, number 2 came on as we programmed it, and when we go to number 2 to switch off, number 2 goes off. Okay,